All right, let's try building a simple web application called Expense Tracker to track our expenses. And let's try using Flask, sorry, not Flask, Fast API and Python. Let's ask Copilot to create a boilerplate code for the same. I'm going to use the at workspace agent and slash new command to do that. Scaffold a fast API application called expense tracker. Let's see what it can do. It's asking me to create a new folder, an empty folder where where it can create the code. So I am going to create a new folder called expense tracker and hit create. I'm going to choose the one that I just created. And as you can see, it just resumed the work of creating the application after opening the new tab and click on continue setup. As you can see, it is creating the plan here. Sorry. And it's asking me the permission to run these commands. So I am going to give the permission by clicking the continue button. It is going to open a terminal and execute these commands. Basically, it's creating the virtual environment and activating it and installing the required dependencies. As you can see, it has installed the required dependencies and it went ahead and created a file called main.py. And if I open the main.py, I see a simple application which is serving just the single endpoint, which just returns the message called welcome to expense tracker. Let's try running this and see what happens. I need this command to be entered in the terminal. So I'm going to click three dots and insert into terminal and hit enter. Let's see if it is running. I see it's running. Let me open it in the browser. Yep, it is running and it is serving the endpoint on the um, root directory. So let's try adding some more features for this. Before going ahead, before going to add those features, let's keep the changes, the initial changes that Copilot gave us. So I'm going to click on keep. And now let's add form to add a new expense and hit enter. Let's see what it can do. So it is generating some edits and made some changes. So I see it has added a model called expense and it has also created a new endpoint called post, the x slash expenses, which is for post method. So let me ask it to create in a HTML form. Create HTML forms to add the expenses and also on the home page list down all the expenses and hit enter. Let's see what it does. It is generating edits in the main.py. I see it has added more and more endpoints. I see it has added some code related to templates, but I see there is some error that we got in the terminal. So let's ask Copilot to fix that. Before doing that, I also see that it is asking me the permission to create the templates folder. So I am going to hit enter, click continue. Uh, I think it is using the same terminal. So let me just copy paste this and add it in the new terminal. Copilot just tries to execute the commands in the same terminal. So that is why we were not able to create that as the app is already running. So I see that it has created the templates folder now, and it has also created the index.html and add expense.html. Let me go back to the same terminal that where the app is running. I still see. Let me try refreshing this. I'm going to stop the server and reload the server. I still see the error, so I'm going to ask the Copilot to fix that. I am going to select the error in the terminal and come here in the Copilot chat. I'm going to tell it to look into that using the terminal selection, hash terminal selection. Okay, and hit enter. Basically goes to the selected part in the terminal and tries to resolve that issue. And I see that it found a solution, a fix for that. So basically it has to have the interpreter should have the Jinja 2 library. So let me give the permission so that it can install using pip and click on continue. Oh, sorry, my bad. Let me try to run that in this terminal. Yeah, I see that it is installed now. Let's go back to the same terminal and refresh it. Refresh the page. Sorry, I still see some error coming up, which is related to Python multipart. So let's try fixing that as well. I see that there is some fix that is provided by the error itself. So I'm going to copy this and install that library here. Yes, and let me go back and refresh the app. Yep, now we don't have any errors. Let me go back to the home page and refresh this. Yeah, I see some basic HTML being rendered here, but not much like some CSS or JavaScript or something. So let's try adding that CSS or JavaScript as well. Add some CSS um, to make it look cool. Let's see what it does. Yeah, I see it is adding some code, making some changes. It is trying to create a static folder, so I am going to give it the permission. Let me copy paste it in the old terminal. I see the static folder created, and let me run the server again. Let me go back here and refresh the page. I still see nothing being updated. So let's tell the Copilot that we don't see anything for CSS. Entered. Okay. Let's go back and refresh. Yes, now I see some CSS added. So let's try the new add new expense button and see what it gives us. And I'm going to click on this. I see that it has rendered a page to add an expense. I am going to create one expense. Press one. amount is 1000 and I'm going to choose the date. Click on add expense, and in the home page I see that there is an expense added here. Let me add one more expense, BSC2 and 500. We choose the date and add expense. As you can see that the two expenses are added here. Let me try adding the expense without some amount or without some date. Let's see what it does. So I see that it made the date field as mandatory. Let's choose the date field, but without the amount. And yep, this is also mandatory. So let's try adding the amount itself. And yeah, I see all the three added here. And let's go back to the code and see what we have here. I'm going to drag this and collapse this. Yeah, we have a post method, a get method, and two get methods and a post method. So as you can see, there is not much information from this code. Like the documentation is missing. So let's try adding the documentation with the help of Copilot. I can ask the Copilot here, like, hey, add the documentation for the routes, or I can just select the piece of code that I want to add the documentation for. Before doing that, let me accept the changes that it already made. So I'm going to click on keep so that we don't see that red or green colors. And I'm going to select a piece of code for which I want to add the documentation and right click on that. And you can go to the Copilot and click on generate docs. So it basically opens an inline chat and tries a command called slash doc, which is an inbuilt one for creating docs. So as you can see, Copilot has generated the doc string for this endpoint. I am going to accept that, or I can just regenerate that. It basically gives you different documentation with some different words or format or anything like that. And let me try a different response this time. So I am going to click on rerun. Let's see what it gives. Yep, it just updated the description, and so let's accept this response for now, and I'm going to click accept. So I see that it has added the syntax, sorry, the documentation outside the function. So let me ask the Copilot to fix that. I'm going to select the error and hash kernel selection. Yeah, it just analyzed that there is a doc string placed outside of any function or class, and it is fixing that by adding the doc string as comments. And we can also ask the Copilot to move the doc string to inside of the function. Let's try adding that. Yeah, it just did that. And we can ask Copilot to add documentation for all the remaining functions as well. you can see that it has added doc strings for all the remaining functions as well. I'm going to accept the changes. And let's say we want to export the available expenses. Um, so we might need to have one more functionality where we just click the button and it just exports the available expenses. So let's try doing that. Let's add an export functionality to export the available expenses. Let's hit enter. Let's see what it can do. So as you can see, it has added a new endpoint called export. And let's try asking Copilot to provide some UI for that as well, where I can click on the button and it just exports the expenses instead of getting the end API from Postman or something else. Yeah, I see it is updating the index.html. It has added an endpoint called /export. Let's try going back to the browser and see what it gives us. I'm going to refresh the page, or let's try adding a new expense. Amount is something and 19, add expense. Yeah, so the last expenses were gone because we were not storing them persistently. So let's add one more, some random text and random number and some date and add expense. I'm going to click on export expenses now. I see that it is automatically generating the expenses.csv file and click on save. Let me try opening this file. Yep, these are the expenses that I have added. So I just exported those things into the CSV file. So let's go back to the Copilot and try adding some tests. Add some tests for this app. Also, give multiple, um, let's tell Copilot to do multiple things at once. Let's see how it goes. Also add a make file to build, sorry, run the app or run the tests or linting, etc. And also let's ask Copilot to add type hints as well. Add some type hints for all the code. Let's see how it goes with all these three prompts combined. It is generating the edits. Yeah, as you can see, it is started adding type hints for request type and description string and everything else. I see it has also added a make file to run the app or run the test cases or lint the code using a rough and also format. And let's try dockerizing this as well. Let's try dockerizing app and also update make file and readme, um, add docker compose as well to run the app. Let's see how it goes. Yep, I see it also added the requirements.txt. Let me click on allow here. Yep, your fast API app is now fully Dockerized. As you can see, the run target was updated to use Docker Compose instead of just running the application. And if I go to the requirements, I see dependencies added inside that. So this is how you can basically enhance your user developer experience by using the Copilot and trying the repetitive tasks like in uh, the documentation and adding tests or fixing an issue or adding type hints. So these are some of the features that Copilot can be used for. Yep. Let's meet in other demo.